Honorable Prime Minister. Thank you, everyone. We acknowledge the Honorable Prime Minister, and the Minister for National Security, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, the Attorney General, Honorable Dr. Irving McIntyre, and other members of Cabinet, Acting Chief of Police Lincoln Corbett, the Cabinet Secretary, permanent secretaries, including the permanent secretary in the Ministry of National Security, senior members of the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, members of the media, listeners, viewers, everyone, good morning. As you are aware, over the past days, we have recorded troubling incidents of gun violence. This press conference will address this matter head on, and we begin with remarks from the Honorable Prime Minister.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, my colleague ministers, the True Police and his officers, fellow Dominicans, both at home and abroad, senior public officers. Morning, everyone. The press, obviously, the press. I have called this press conference to address a matter of great national importance and concern. I thank the Minister for National Security, the Honorable Attorney General, the Chief of Police, and the senior rank of the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force for joining me at this press conference. Over the past days, we have witnessed troubling acts of gun violence in Dominica. These incidents, brazen and reckless, have disrupted the peace and shaken the sense of safety that we hold dear as a people. I wish to extend my deepest condolences to the family of the victim of these violent acts and offer my sincere wishes for full and swift recovery to those who were injured. Let me be clear. This government will not tolerate lawlessness. We will not allow individuals with illegal firearms to destabilize our communities, endanger lives, and undermine our national security. As Prime Minister, upon my return to the country on Sunday, I convened an emergency meeting with law enforcement and security officials to thoroughly assess the situation and review the response to these incidents. In addition to the strategies and plans which the police have been implementing, and which I am not at liberty to explain in respect to the details, today I am announcing a series of decisive and immediate measures to address the situation head on. One, we are establishing a dedicated firearms task force within the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force. And this task force will focus solely on identifying, apprehending, and prosecuting those involved in the possession, trafficking, and use of illegal firearms. The task force will be a multi-agency unit, drawing expertise and resources from the Police Criminal Investigation Department, the Special Branch, the K9 Unit, the Customs and Excise Division, the Dominica Coast Guard, and the National Joint Intelligence Center, NGIC. The task force will adopt an aggressive and coordinated approach to stamp out illegal weapons from our streets. And obviously, we'll also coordinate and collaborate with regional agencies. Two, effective immediately, we're implementing a confidential hotline for members of the public to report illegal firearms or suspicious activity. Any individual who provides information that leads to the retrieval of an illegal firearm or ammunition will receive a reward of 1,000 EC dollars per firearm. Your identity will be protected. Your civic duty will be rewarded. The Chief of Police will provide the details of this hotline. Three, we are also declaring a limited amnesty period for anyone in possession of illegal firearms or ammunition to surrender them to law enforcement without fear of prosecution. This is a chance for citizens to do the right thing and avoid the full force of the law. The details of this amnesty, including the time frame and drop-off procedures, will be announced shortly by the Chief of Police. 4, we are moving swiftly to enhance our crime prevention and detection capabilities. The government will begin the installation of surveillance camera systems across the country, starting with the city of Rosa. This is a long-term investment in our national security infrastructure and a deterrent to criminal activity. 5, in the interim, I have directed the police force to increase foot and mobile patrols in Rosa and indeed across the country. We must restore confidence and ensure that law-abiding citizens can go about their lives without fear. 6, I have directed that the state engages a special prosecutor to deal with all major gun-related offenses in Dominica. And 7, there will be a ban on the use of tint on all rented vehicles in Dominica, because the police has advised that the majority of these crimes are carried out utilizing rented vehicles that are highly and heavily tinted. Let me take this moment to speak directly to those who believe they can operate outside the law. We will find you, we will disarm you, and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. We cannot allow anyone in this country with the illegal means to bring fear onto a country. Dominica is a peaceful nation, and we will not permit our streets to become battlegrounds. I urge all citizens to be vigilant, to cooperate with law enforcement, and to speak out when you see wrongdoing. This is our country, and we all have a role to play in keeping it safe. For our efforts to be successful, we must all play our part. Fighting crime must be seen as a societal responsibility. I want to thank the men and women of the Commonwealth Dominica Police Force for their continued dedication to the safety and security of our people and country. You have the full support of this government once you carry out your duties within the confines of the Constitution and laws of Dominica. In the days ahead, we'll intensify our response. As Prime Minister, I will continue to consult with the Chief of Police. We will ensure that our country remains a safe place to live, work, and raise our families. Let us pledge today, in this moment, to put aside all differences and unite in the defense of our country by rejecting the culture of violence. Let us show care and concern for our fellow citizens, ensuring that we can all continue to enjoy the peace and tranquility of our nature island, Dominica. Later this week, I shall address the concerns of the residents of Rosa in respect of the negative impacts which the landfill has had on their health and general well-being. Thank you. I wish now to invite the Chief of Police, Mr. Lincoln Cobbett.
Good morning. The Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, the Minister of National Security and Legal Affairs, Mr. Reuben Blackmore, all the members of Cabinet, my fellow colleagues, that is the hierarchy of the police force, Dominican media, good morning all. The police force is investigating 2 separate incidents of violence which occurred in the city of Roseau between July 8th and 11th of this year. On the 8th of July, a masked man traveling in a motor vehicle discharged a firearm in the vicinity of the Alliance Française building towards a group of individuals. That shooting resulted in the death of Jean-Yves Bruno of Kenfield. On Friday the 11th, a young man also discharged a weapon in the area of Ship Street. That discharge impacted a motor vehicle and also impacted a non-national from South Korea. Incidentally, he works on a local ship, and he received a gunshot wound to his buttocks. He has since been treated at the hospital and discharged. So his injury, thank God, was not life-threatening. We provided all the necessary support that we could to the family on the side of the police and also on the side of the agency of the state. And we wish him a full and speedy recovery. For the year thus far, that is this year, we have recorded 11 homicides. 4 of these homicides have been committed with the use of firearms. I can also report that 6 of those homicides have been solved, and we are actively investigating the other matters. Those involving use of firearms have not been solved, meaning that nobody has been charged. However, we have suspects in 3 of those matters. And although I may not say why we are announcing people are wanted, but I suppose you can draw your own inference. But we have suspects, I said, 3 suspects that we actively looking for. We're in search of Ian Alfred. Again, he's wanted by the police for serious offense. We're also in search of Ian Alfred of Yampis, I should add, Stock Farm. We're also in search of Brent Alexander of Silver Lake, 19 years old. And we're also in search of Jamal Ishmael Alexis of Silver Lake. Those 3 individuals are considered to be armed and dangerous. In addition to the 3 I mentioned, we had already mentioned some about a month ago that we also have we are also in search of Scott Flora and Ramali Henry. All these 5 individuals are considered to be armed and dangerous. However, we urge the public to give us information as to their whereabouts so we can deal with them accordingly. As indicated by the Honorable Prime Minister, we have established the Firearms Task Force, and that task force is mandated solely to deal with the issue of firearms. So sometime later in the week, we'll roll out everything, but what I can say thus far, that task force will comprise no less than 30 individuals, 30 individuals. It will be headed by an inspector of police, and they'll be going after the issue of illicit firearms in the state. Now, effective the 6th of June of this year, we have ramped up our police exercises in search of firearms. And you will have seen the officers on the streets doing a lot of VCPs, what we call vehicle checkpoints. And also we've been also doing house searches. This is all in response to the increased use of firearms, callously that is, by members of the public. And to date, we have seized 7 firearms, 5 by way of VCPs, and 2 by way of house searches. So we've conducted almost 40 VCPs from June 6 to the 12th of July, 13 house searches, and as I indicated, we've seized 7 firearms. We've seized 84 rounds of ammunition, 16 motorcycles. We've made 4 arrests. We've also seized $15,000, 3 motor vehicles, and 1.1 kilos of cocaine. As an aggregate for the year so far, we've seized 49 firearms and 289 rounds of ammunition at the port of Dominica. We have made 2 major seizures that we announced sometime. Well, interestingly, in those seizures, we seized 3 high-powered AR-15 type rifles. These rifles, I've said before, those are weapons of war, and they do not belong on the streets of Dominica. Just going back to the year 2022, we would have seized 94 firearms in the year 2022 and 2,140 rounds of ammunition. In 2023, 35 firearms, 1,651 rounds of ammunition. In the year 2024, 27 firearms and 764 rounds of ammunition. And 2025 thus far, 49 firearms at the port and 289 rounds at the port. This to us is a very significant amount of firearms that we've seized. And for the year, again from 2022, we've arrested 51 people in 2022, sorry. In 2023, 42 individuals. In 2024, 31 individuals. And for the year so far, we've arrested 21 individuals for the use of firearms, or firearm-related offenses. I wish to encourage members of the public, please report if you have any information to the police, and shortly I will give a number that you can do so. We also, again, to reiterate, we call upon parents that know that their children has firearms in the house, ask them to surrender the weapons to the police. Surrender the weapons to the police. Now, the numbers that you can call, or the number actually that you can call to report anonymously, that's 1-800-TIPS, 1-800-8477, Crime Stoppers Hotline. You can also report to any officer that you have confidence in. I've said before, there must be an officer out there that you can speak to with confidence. And there are many of them. And a lot of the success that we've had by people walking in, calling a friend, calling a police officer, and reporting and giving information confidentially. And I can attest that none of the information that have been given to any officers have been leaked to anybody, any members of the public. So you can be rest assured that when you give information to a confident officer, a confidential officer, that it stays with him and we act upon it. Now, in relation to some of what was announced, I really want to thank the government of the American Prime Minister for the measures that he mentioned. We believe strongly that all these measures will assist us in ridding the streets of firearms. In terms of the warranty, you can take the weapon to any police station. You can take it to a priest, a pastor, or anybody that you're sure that will actually turn the weapon into the police. You won't be prosecuted at all if you surrender a weapon to the police. Additionally, any information leading to recovery of a firearm, as indicated, a reward of $1,000. A reward of $1,000 for any weapon that has been, any information, that's related to the recovery of a firearm. And as indicated before, you will see us, we step up our operations, our foot patrols in and out of the city. I will not go into detail on our operations, but you will see much more activity of the police going forward. Again, just to encourage members of the public to please give us information and feel free to call the numbers that I've indicated. Just before I end, I really want to thank the officers that have been working with us. Over the past 3 months, we've been pushing real hard to ensure that we can get rid of firearms on the streets. And the officers I know, they have been working very hard. The members of the Anti-Crime Task Force, under the leadership of Mr. Hillier, have been working very hard. Many times they don't get any rest day. I just ask him to give them some time that they don't get any burnout. But I cannot live here without thanking them, and asking them to keep pushing, because we can't give up. If we give up, we know what's going to happen. A lot of countries that are worse off than us started little by little, and it went out of control. So just to reiterate that the officers, I thank you very, very much. But I'll be asking much more of you, much more of you, to ensure that we can get rid of the firearms. Thank you very much.
The hotline number is 1-800-8477. Our thanks to the Chief of Police for his presentation, for the statistics he provided, and of course to the Honorable Prime Minister who spoke before him. We now invite the members of the media to pose your questions. We would ask that you keep to topic, that you stick to topic, but knowing the Prime Minister, he might be amenable to a little bit of strain. But let's try to keep within reason, okay? So you're welcome now to ask your questions. We begin with Carlisle John Baptist from Nature Isle News.
Thank you very much. I also have with me a copy of the Bail Act, and you know that I normally go to court. One of the things that I've been seeing is the type of sentences that magistrates impose on persons who are found guilty or who plead guilty to firearms-related offenses. When will the government go to Parliament and amend that law? Because, for example, in St. Vincent, if memory serves me right, once you've pleaded guilty or once you are guilty, it's a mandatory jail sentence in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The other question also has to deal with bail. We have a Bail Act, and just recently there were some persons with several gun-related offenses. They pled not guilty, the magistrate remanded them, but they went to the High Court and they got bail. There seemed to be some sort of loophole in the Bail Act. When will government again go to Parliament to deal with that situation, amend the Bail Act so as to deal with those, please?
Morning, good morning. Okay, with respect to your questions, let me start with one first, insofar as it relates to the Firearms Act. As we speak, the state has engaged one of the most highly reputed legal draft person in the name of Mr. Anthony Laron, former Attorney General. As we speak, is currently looking at the Firearms Act, to actually look at the penalties. But let me just say here this morning, the current act itself carries very stringent penalties. Let us, for example, make a reference specific to trafficking in illegal firearms. The penalty speaks to 1, 25 years imprisonment or a fine of $1,000. I'm certain that's it. Now, if you would be found with a firearm, your first offense, which is a summary, let us suppose hypothetically is a summary matter, the law speaks to fine and confine. So what we are currently looking at is, for example, if you were to be found with 2 illegal firearms, for a matter of fact, and if you were to use that firearm to commit an offense, to remove that discretion from the court, so you go straight to jail. Insofar as it relates to the Bail Act, Dominica is one of the countries within the CARICOM catchment with a Bail Act. And so it's clear legal guidelines that the court should follow. But there seemed to be a misinterpretation of specifically Section 7 of the Bail Act that says, of course, that, for example, for murder, if the court were to grant somebody bail for murder, that the accused has to prove that he's going to make himself available before the court for his hearing. The onus, therefore, not to be placed on the prosecution. Some judges places the onus on the accused. Some judges places the onus on the state. So what we're trying to do is to narrow that definition and to place what it calls reverse onus in that case on the defendant to prove that I'm not going to flee. I'm going to present myself to answer my matter. So I want to make that clear. So that also is being looked at as we speak. So I want to agree with you in that regard.
Good morning. I want to speak to the of a lot of concern about that. What seemed to be the searches going on by the police. A lot of people are making noises that you're infringing, police officers, infringing on the law when you search persons indiscriminately. I want the commissioner to speak to that. When do you conduct searches? Are these searches illegal? Just one question for the time.
Good morning again. I'm trying to wrap the question around my head. The police do not conduct any illegal searches, none whatsoever. When we conduct searches at your house, we have a warrant. When they stop you in the streets, it's because we have information that suggests that you may have a weapon or drugs or some other illegal thing happening. So we do not conduct any illegal searches whatsoever.
Suggestion that there's sometimes selected. I select certain people to search.
Yes, Mr. Beltier. And as I'm saying, we arrested our own. We search our own. So to say selective, we could have said, oh, well, leave the officer. No, we searched and arrested our own. So we're not doing any selective searches. We based upon information that we have, intelligence that we have, we conduct searches, we use of warrants or information as in case of a motor vehicle, we can stop you and search you. But as I said, we do not conduct any illegal or unlawful searches on anybody. And anybody who wants a search has been conducted on your house, you want to see a copy of your warrant, we have it. We show it to you at your house. We can get you to read and what that happens, things happening. But we have it. And the way we obtain warrants is by information. We must lead information before magistrate or before the chief of police, who has the power under the Firearms Act to issue warrants. But in short, we do not conduct any illegal searches on anybody's premises.
Or currency to what the chief of police have just said. Under common law and written law, the police has the authority, based on suspicion, reasonable cause, to arrest and to search. There's a case law, I think it's Martin Anthony, which is the Attorney General of 1992, where the police arrest somebody for drugs on suspicion. The person went to court. We have a right to do that. The court held that the police was so justified. And this court went further to clarify the difference between lawful arrest or unlawful arrest and false imprisonment. You can refer to the case, I think it was in 2012. And I want to say further, the Criminal Law and Procedures Act of 1992, you want to make a reference to section 12, 4, 5, and 6 subsections. You see the grant authority provided by the police to search on suspicion and to arrest you on suspicion. The police, under certain circumstances, can enter your home. If the police is in immediate pursuit of a felon, and that person runs under a bed, the police has a right to run under a bed and extract that person and arrest the person without a warrant. If the police is walking and the person hears somebody screaming for help, the person has a right to go to your home, investigate, and to arrest without a warrant. That's got to be fundamentally clear. Under the Firearms Act, the police have a right to stop and search vehicles with reasonable suspicion, of course. The Drug Prevention Act, so too. Section 7 of the Constitution provides protection to our privacy. But of course, the same Constitution under Section 3, I believe, gives the police the authority to arrest you on suspicion for 3 days before taking you before the court and to release you. And I want to call on the public. We cannot have our cake and eat it. You heard the Prime Minister quite eloquently made reference to that. We want safer streets. We have to give something and allow the police with reasonable cause and respect the human decency to do their work. That's got to be fundamentally clear. And as the Minister for National Security, entrusted by the Prime Minister, I'll do anything to protect the public interest and to ensure that Dominica remains the safest place in the Caribbean as it now is. So we're going to need an all-encompassing effort, not only the police and the Prime Minister, but all of us, including those of us who are versed in the law. Because I heard someone in the program last week was so off. The person reading the law upside it down. Let's be practical. Dominica belongs to all of us. And let us do what is right to protect this country. Yeah.
Don't you think that persons out there have their constitutional rights under the law?
What? As the case was with Martin Anthony, when they challenged the state, and they took the state to court. You can make a reference to that matter, 2012, I think it was. And there's precedence to that effect, that the police, with justification, can search you. My advice to you, if the police says that I have information that you're carrying something illicit, cooperate with the police and avoid the embarrassment, because the police has the authority to act in defense of the public peace and public interest.
Christina Joseph, DBS Radio. Apart from the response by law enforcement to this issue, what else is being done in terms of engaging other aspects of society in response to our young men being involved in the possession of illegal firearms and fire-related offenses? What else is being done apart from a response by law enforcement?
Well, because you spoke about the amnesty, but it did not give any specifics as it relates to the amnesty when it starts. Also, the issue of the tinted vehicles. You spoke about the rentals. Can you go a little in a little more detail, please?
Thank you for the questions. In respect to the other engagement in society, as I said, crime is a societal problem, and it's going to require everyone in the society to play his or her part or their part in fighting this situation. The police and the government will do what they have to do, and we shall continue to provide the police with the resources it needs to carry out its mandate. But at the end of the day, if this society is not going to play its part, we're going to have a problem. And therefore, the churches, the wider community, families, we need to also be part of the conversation. And we need to be part of the advice, giving the advice and admonishment to those who we believe might be part of this exercise. And so we will play our part, but the churches, the schools, the business community itself too. The business community itself has to play its part. Can we not get some vehicles donated by the business community? Can we not provide the police with some supplies? You understand what I'm saying? So there are some things that each of us can do and should be doing. We are offering $1,000 for anyone who reports the presence of illegal firearm, and if we successfully retrieve, that person will receive $1,000. We would be more than prepared to receive from the Sunday collection some of that, and from the business community some of that, and any other citizen in the country who would like to contribute to that fund. We would certainly welcome contributions from any individual or entity in respect to that fund. But the other point to answer your very important question is that we must also allow, as a society, the police to carry out its duties. The police, the only person in this country who is not above who's above the law is the president, insofar as the president is in office. The police has to carry its duties within the confines of the Constitution and the laws passed by Parliament. Once they do that, it's important for us to provide them with the support. So I have heard, for example, complaints that why is the police stopping people? Because we may be inconvenienced for one reason or the other. But if the police does not do these things, how do we retrieve those firearms? And when is the best time? The police carries out those actions based on their own intelligence, based on their own strategies, based on their own plans. You understand? And therefore, we need to give the police the leeway within the laws and the Constitution to carry those duties. Because it's obvious to you and to all that the police has identified the presence of illegal firearms to be the major threat confronting the country. And every time in our history, it has been one thing or the other. It was marijuana in the 70s. It became cocaine in the 80s and 90s. It became burglaries at some point, and so forth. Now it is guns, and this is a worldwide phenomenon. And the reality is, we do not want to get into the situation where we have 60 and 40 and 50 homicides carried out by the use of illegal firearms, or any firearm for that matter. And so it's important for us to play our part in stamping it now. And we believe, based on the advice of the police, that the measures announced today, in addition to the strategy and the plan that the police has already been employing, will give them additional quote-unquote ammunition to help address that particular issue confronting our country. So we are going to give the police support. In respect to the amnesty, obviously we will announce the commencement. It will be for a short period of time, because, as you know, we've tried this before. The last time we tried was last year. How many firearms did we get? Three. Whether it was one, great, because that's one less on the streets, so we have three less on the streets. So we will be putting this forward, but for a very limited period of time. In respect to the tinted vehicles, we've been advised to limit it for the time being. It may very well be extended down the road to all vehicles except those identified by the chief of police. But for the time being, based on the information that the police has, the majority of these offenses are being carried out with the use of rented vehicles that are heavily tinted. And you will have heard of an incident that took place last week, which the public itself had concerns about. But had that vehicle not been tinted, the police would have been able to see the occupants of the vehicle. You understand? And that would have had a different outcome had the vehicle not been tinted. And so we're doing it both for the safety and security of the occupants of the vehicle, and for those who are going about their duties wisely. There was 2 years ago, some people were kidnapped, and they said they were being driven all over Roseau and parked in the vehicle, and nobody could see anybody in the vehicle and so forth. Had this vehicle not been tinted, you would have seen these people being occupants of the vehicle and so on. So I think what we need to allow us to do in this country is to put aside all differences and recognize that we have an issue to deal with. And the question is, how do you deal with it? And yes, we'll look at the laws, as the minister quite rightly pointed out to your questions. But as we recognize, sometimes the laws are there and they have stiff penalties, but you do not get the outcome that you want. So insofar as the responsibility of Parliament, insofar as the responsibility of the executive, which is the cabinet, as well as the three branches of government, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive, I am responsible as leader of the House to suggest to Parliament the laws that we can pass, and as the chairman of the cabinet, the resources and the actions we need to take insofar as helping with the situation. There's an other arm that has to play a crucial part, which is the judiciary. And as you know, I have zero control or influence on that body. But at the end of the day, as I've said to the Chief Justice, and the current acting one, and previous Chief Justices, judges live within our societies, and they are aware of the issues which the residents and citizens of those countries raise. And it is always understood that in the dispensation of decisions, that the situation confronting the country or the society at the prevailing time would be considered as part of your consideration, because the judiciary has a fundamental responsibility in helping to improve the safety of our citizens and residents. And so while I do not want to go into details of some of the actions that the judiciary has taken in recent time, but I believe the overarching principle is that the judiciary is part of the society and not devoid or outside of the society. And therefore, their actions must reflect those circumstances.
My follow-up question, but you were very diplomatic in your answer, because just recently we are aware that a High Court judge granted someone on a murder charge $1,000 bail in Dominica. What sort of message is that High Court judge really sending? $1,000. So I'm happy that you stated that you are in contact and you've been very diplomatic, but maybe, and I say maybe, it is time that you send some sort of message to the Chief Justice, because I mean, we have been affected in Dominica. This is serious. How do you grant an individual on a charge of murder $1,000 with a fish gun? I mean, this is crazy.
Not only for the government or the executive, as you say, the director of public prosecution or the chief police to express those outrages. I mean, it's left to us in the society. The other groups, the very groups which the reporter from DBS raised, the question. I mean, what are we saying? Where's the Bar Association, all of this? The Bar Association makes statements of all kinds of things, except those matters. Is it, you know? So I think that the private sector, the Council of Churches and the Evangelical Association, I mean, all of them play a part, and all those groups that say that they're human rights groups and want to be smudged in the name of Dominica international community, foreign agencies. These are things that we should speak about, because the reality is all of us live in the society, and all of us will be vulnerable, no matter who you are. Whether you're carrying a firearm or not, a licensed firearm or not, that's besides the point. Don't be that you're safe. And it is a matter that, and we've been talking about this thing for some time in terms of firearms. And we've spent a significant amount of money buying scanners at the ports of entry to facilitate this. And so I'm working with our regional partners, international partners on this. So, and I can tell you from what I know, the police and what they've told me, I mean, the police are really going out there in quote unquote full force to seek to curb the incidents. Now, we recognize that a lot of the firearms are in transit to mainly the French territories. You understand? But once they're in transit and they're available, somebody will use them at some point. You understand? Yeah.
A comment there. Would you caution your ministers of government when you make public statements? For example, just one minister of government that I'm sure you know well, have made statements like we have our snipers. There's another statement, another minister that said, coming back door. And of course, we know, and the commissioner can agree, a lot of the ammunition or the guns coming from the back door. What would you want to say to ministers making such statements, sir?
But I would not want us to trivialize the very serious matter at hand. I think your question is, you know, that's the first question you've asked in a long time. That's well, since we've been having these press conferences, and I think that I would caution you from conveying that question from where it came. I will not get to that point. I think we're trivializing a very serious matter. of which, I mean, I came back to the country on Sunday afternoon, and I met with the police for almost 3 hours on Sunday afternoon, after flying some 16 hours, because I recognize that, and we always said so, and now the public is recognizing itself, that the presence of illegal firearms in Dominica is a serious matter. And we have to stamp it. This is why, if you realize, and I'll end now, realize the police has reduced its actions against marijuana. Because as far as the police is concerned, marijuana does not feature currently where guns feature or cocaine feature. You understand? This is why when I meet people and I know people are planting in the mountains, I say to them, look, it's okay, you can plant, but if you have illegal firearms, the police will come for them. And when the police come for them, whatever you have planted, or whatever stage it is, whether it's close to 6 months, you're ready to harvest all your solar systems that you have and your generators that you have in the mountain, everything will be mashed up. Every single thing. So choose one. We are 100,000% against illegal firearms in the country. And every one of us in society must have that same language and that same attitude. Of course, every citizen has rights, and those rights will be protected. Okay? Will be protected. But I think we need to allow the police the opportunity to carry out its duty and to help with the situation in the country. Because even the chief of police mentioned 11 homicides this year. While you recognize less than 50% were carried out by illegal firearms, because I'm sure you believe that all 11 were firearms. You understand? The country believes that all of the homicides so far have been firearms. It's interesting to note only 4 to 11. But whether it's 1 or 2 is a concern. And what is of greater concern to the public is that it's not at nighttime. It's at midday. It's at 8 o'clock in the morning. A guy is going to work. And the guy is going to work with his lunch in his bag, looking forward to going to work and looking forward for Friday for payday, and he gets shot innocently. We can't. There should be no. We shouldn't have any opportunity to trivialize the seriousness of the matter. And guys will pull up a gun over an engine cover. You understand? So it could have been any one of us in the streets at the time who would have. So here this foreign national here in Dominica enjoying the peace and tranquility of Dominica, that he could walk freely in Dominica and then gets a stray bullet. You understand? And so let us all join forces. Let us all join forces. And I dare say, based on intelligence, that even those who have illegal firearms do not support the idea of illegal firearms. But there are some reasons why they have it. And so this is why we'll be continue to engage them on this matter and to see how we can get those illegal firearms off the streets and so on. But it's important action. Please, anybody? Yes.
Wilson, you spoke about the time that the incidents took place, and you said during the day. Another very concerning matter for me, and for many, I'm sure, is the sophistication of the guns used. The type of guns that are used. Some of them are maybe seen used in war or wherever it is, and so on. How confident is the government in the capacity of the police force to deal with this situation? One, are we seeking any regional support to deal with the current situation? Not sure if somebody asked this question already, but that's the question.
The police has had successes in the past. They have retrieved a significant cache of ammunition, guns and ammunition, firearms, before the customs and also on the streets and in homes. And that will continue. Obviously, a lot of these things, there's some things that I cannot say to you, the public, so I'm very careful my response. I'll just say that we're confident the police has the ability. The police also works with regional and international partners in assisting us in that effort, because it's a global effort. You have the issue of the supply of the guns from the United States. We work in the United States government and seeing how we can stem the flow. We have stepped up the surveillance of the customs and the ports. The police has been doing so. This is, the chief has said so to me many times. He said so here again today, that for the police, the reading of illegal firearms on the streets and in home Dominica is priority number one for the police. And I must commend the police for that. And I want to say that the high command of the police force are fully in tune to this. And of course, you've heard the Minister of National Security on this matter as well. But at the end of the day, for there to be the success that we all want, and for there to be the peace of mind that we all seek, each of us must play a part. And so responsible reporting is a very important one. Not sensationalizing the situation, not playing the blame game is going to solve the problem. Because you see, I mean, unlike some countries, we've had one party in government for a long time, but other countries where you had people in opposition saying it's the government fault, when they came in, you were seeing a doubling of the homicides. So unless the society plays a part, and all of us play a part, in that, you're not going to see the success that you have. And I think for us in Dominica, we are a bit fortunate that we are taking the situation extremely seriously, and that we will be using all of the tools available to us to seek to curb this. And I believe in listening to the public's reaction and the suggestions of the public as to how they believe that we can address this issue, I'm satisfied that we have the support of the public in large measure in carrying out those duties. So I think the measures that we have announced it today, in addition to what the police have been doing, I think it's important for each of us to express our support for them and to play our part in that.
As it relates to the Firearms Act, I think you have an option if you want it heard in the High Court or the Magistrates Court. Right, Mr. Minister? I think, yes, you right. So, would the government want to consider, looking at that act again, giving you the option? And also, the Minister of National Security, I know he has been expressing concerns in terms of the fines being imposed by magistrates. Is it something, again, that you want to delve further in? Because sometimes people, they already have offenses, firearm-related offenses, yet they still get out there with a slap on the wrist. That is of concern to the general public.
Suggestions. The implied suggestions, and as the minister indicated, we're looking at all of the legislation and to see where we can remove any possibility of loopholes or misunderstanding or misinterpretation and so on. So all of these things have been looked at. So we're looking at the situation in totality. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Mr. Blackmore can answer the question. Mr. Blackmore, it seems that you're under tremendous pressure from the public in terms of persons are saying you're leading that ministry for a number of years. Is it time to step down as a security minister? So, Mr. Prime Minister can also answer the question, because we're talking about reshuffling now.
That falls within the level of competence of the Prime Minister. But I want to say that those who are saying that, I know, and they have seen me as somebody between them and them, the ability to overrun the government. And you have to respect the government of the day. So that's not my fault that they're complaining. But again, so I mean, I will stand for country. So it's not my fault that, I mean, they were not able to succeed with their endeavor to unseat a government elected by the people for the people. But when you look at the totality, the crime is significantly down, historical lows. Burglaries, historical lows. In the 90s and early 2000, we averaged 1,005. We're down to 300 and something. Rape, down. You look at my point. Unlawful sexual intercourse, down. Taking convenience, stealing somebody's vehicle, doesn't belong to you, down. Every aspect of it, down. So the government has done a good job, etc. So, as I said, I know who sent you the question, but tell him to forget the past. I only did my job as a police officer in 1999. And the investigating officer is somewhere. I was a sergeant of police. I only assigned an investigator to investigate a matter for which a report of theft was made against that individual. So let's move on. All right? Let's move on.
In terms of reshuffling,
Thank you, everyone, for coming.